So, okay. So what we are talking about is list, right? So here, yeah. So what we are talking about is collection data types. In collection data types, I said now collections are classified into two categories. One is sequences, and one more is a sets, and one more is mapping. Now, yesterday we started with sequences. Now, sequence types organize data or objects in which order here, sequential order in memory, and sequences are ordered collections. And the sequence data types are classified into two. One is mutable sequences, and one more is a immutable sequences. So mutable means you can modify after creation. Immutable means you cannot do the changes after creation. So mutable allows after creation changes. Immutables doesn't allow after creation what changes. And after that, we started with a list. Now list is a mutable sequence data type, and list all mutable sequences and used for storing collection of homogeneous items, but it can also hold heterogeneous items. Heterogeneous means different types. Homogeneous means similar types. Now list can hold duplicate items or values, and all sequences are index based where reading and writing is done using what here index. And after that I said how to create a list. Now you can create a list in different ways. And what is the symbol used for creating a list? Square brackets. Now empty square brackets represent empty list, and you can write the square brackets where you can put some list of values separated with what? Comma. You can write a list of values separated with a comma, and you can also create a list by using list comprehension, and you can create a list using a list function. So all collections are called iterables, and iterables allows to read individual objects or which implements which protocol here, iteration protocol. So this is what I said, creating empty list. So this is empty square brackets represent empty list. Okay, and creating a list separating with what here, comma. Now this is a list which contain 5 values of type integer, and this list contain the 5 values of type what? Float. Now this list contain 5 values of type which one? String. And this list is having different types of values like integer, string, float, as well as boolean, right? So you are trying to create a list with the different types here, right? That can be, yes. Now this is converting existing iterables. Like suppose you want to create a list using range of values, then use a list of range. If you want to create a list using a range, or if you want to create a list using another list, even you can do that by using list function. And after that, I said memory representation of a list. And this is how data is organized within the memory. So it is organized in which order? Sequential order. And every element in the list is identified with the index. And the index starts at 0 when you're reading the data from left to right. And index starts at -1 when you're reading data from right to left. So in that index starts at 0 when you read the data from left to right, and index starts at -1 when you read the data from right to left, right? So this is using index, using slicing, using for loop, and using iterator, and using enumerate. So first I said using index, right? So index is an integer value used to identify each location or item within the list, like this. And we have seen how to read it. So this is how the reading is done using a positive index as well as negative index, right? So from left to right, you can read it from left to right, or you can read from right to left by using range. And I can use your range for generating what here indexes. I can use a range here, which I can use for generating indexes. But always index is used for reading how many values? Only one value. Always the index is used for reading how many values? Only one value. But if you want to read more than one value, you are trying to use which one? Slicing. Okay. So let us talk about slicing here. Now the slicing is applied only to the sequence data types. The slicing is applied to only sequence data types, right? Slicing is there. So there is an indexing and there is a slicing. Now using index, you can able to read only one value. For example, I create one list. So assume that I created one list with number of values. So 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So if I want to read the values, I can read the values using index. So what is the index of first value? 0. So what is the index of second value? 1, like that. So using index, I can able to read how many values? One value. That index can be either positive or that index can be either negative. So I write here list 1 of -1. So what is the value at -1? 50. So you are reading in forward direction as well as what? Backward. If you are writing -1, what is the value at -1? 50. So get the value 50. And if I'm writing list 1 of -2, what is the value at -2? 40. So it will get the value called which one? 40. So this is how you are reading it. So list 1 of -1, the value at -1 is 50. And list 1 of -2, what is the value at -2 here? 40. So you are reading in both the directions, forward as well as backward, right? But using index, you can able to read only one value. Assume that I want to read two values. I want to read how many values? Two values or more than one value. Then you go for which one? Slicing. Okay, slicing. Now slicing is a process of reading more than one value from sequence. Okay, now this slicing, you can do it only on which data type? Sequence data types. You cannot do the slicing on any other data type. Now slicing is applied only on which data type? Sequence data type. Now slicing is a process of reading more than one value from sequence. If you want to read more than one value from sequence, you take the help of which one? Slicing here, right? So this is a question might be asked like, what is a slicing here? What is the difference between indexing and slicing? So what is slicing in Python? See, so the slicing, okay. So slicing is the extraction of a part of a sequence that can be called as which one here? Slicing. What is a slicing here? A slice is a substring of the main string, but is string related. But anyway, the slicing is a process of reading more than one value from sequence. Or slicing, or you can say, okay, slicing is a process of reading a part of, part of, or a part from a sequence. So that can be called as a slicing here. Now, what is the difference in this case? What is the difference between indexing and what is the difference between indexing and which one slicing? So what is the difference between indexing and slicing? So we're using index, by using index, now this is called as indexing, and this you can call it as which one? Slicing. So index is used, index is used to read one value from sequence, and slicing is used to read more than one value from sequence type. So this indexing and slicing is applied only to which data type? Sequence data types. This indexing and slicing is applied only to which data type? Sequence data types. Now index is used to read one value from sequence, and slicing is used to read more than one value from sequence. Index is used to read one value from sequence, and slicing is used to read more than one value from sequence, right? So that is where you find the difference between indexing and what? Slicing here, right? But the slicing is done, okay, the slicing is done using, okay, the slicing is done using which operator? Slice operator. The slicing is done by using which operator here? Slice operator is there. And what is the syntax of the slice operator is you're writing a sequence name. Okay, sequence name means list name or any other sequence, because all the sequences allows indexing and what? Slicing. Sequence name and it followed by the starting index. Okay, then colon, you have to give the stop index. Then colon, you have to give what here? Step. So if you want to read more than one value, what you required from where to where you want to read it. For where to where, from where to where you want to read the values. From where to where you want to read values. For that, you define the starting index and you define the stop index and you also define which one? Step. So there are three things out there: starting index and stop index, as well as what? Step. From where to where you want to read it. For example, suppose, now this is very much useful. For example, you have a list of sales and you want to read first 3 months sales, or you want to read last 3 months sales, or you want to read alternative sales. Okay, you want to read alternative months sales. Then how can you read that? How can you read that? You can read more than one value with the help of which one? Slicing. So this slicing is done using which operator? Slice operator. Then you require the starting index and the stop index, as well as what? Step. Now step is nothing but incrementing and decrementing here. For example, I have a list. For example, there is a list with some values out there. So there is a list one with some 5 values out there. Or I try to create a list with some 10 values out there in the list. Now this is a list with some 10 values. So here I created a list with some 10 values out there in this list. So these are 10 values here. Now 10, 20. Now this is how you are trying to put the values here. Yes. Now these are the values which are there in the list. So these are 10 values, okay, which are there in the list here. So 10 values are there. So each value in the list is identified with what here? Index. And that index starts at what here? 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is 4. So this is a positive index to read the values from left to right. And this is a negative index to read the values from right to left. So minus 10, minus 9, minus 8, and minus 7, and minus 6 is a minus 5. So there's a minus 4, and minus 3, minus 2, and this is minus 1. Okay, now this is a negative index, and this is a positive index. Now this is for reading values from left to right, and this is from reading values from right to left. So that is called as traversing in forward direction, and this is traversing in what here? Backward direction. Now I want to read. For example, this is a name of the list. And what is the name of the list here? List 1. Now I want to read first 5 values. Then I'll say list 2 equal to list 1 of. So I try to define the starting index. And what is the starting index here? 0. Because I want to read values from which position? 0 onwards. And I want to read 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to read 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Means how many values? 5 values. Then I given the start as a 0 and the stop as which one? 5. So 5 is nothing but which index here? Stop index. Now here the stop index is not included. Okay, the stop index is not included means it will take stop minus 1. Means 5 minus 1 means it will take up to what? 4. Same like range. And colon, I just write here 1. So what is a 1 year step? Now here, this slicing internally uses what? Range. The slicing internally uses what here? Range, and generate how many indexes? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will read the value at it will read the value at what? 0. It will read the value at what? 1. It will read the value at what? 3. 2. It will read the value at 3. It will read the value at 4. So how many values it read here? 5 values. 5 values it will read and store in another list. It will read 5 values and store in another list. So it will read the value at 0. It will read the value at 1. It will read the value at 2. It will read the value at 3 and 4. So what will happen here? Now the value 10 is read and it will store in another list. It will read the value at 1 and then store in another list. It will read the value at 2 and then store in another list. It will read the value at 3 and then store in another list. It will read the value at 4 and store in what? Another list. Now, we read a part of a list. Okay. Now, this is 10 and 20, and this is 30, and this is 40, and this is 50. Suppose if I'm writing list 2, suppose if I'm writing list 2 or list 3 equal to list 1 of, I just write 0 colon, I write here 10 colon 2. So here the starting index is 0 and stop index is what? 10 and step is what here? 2. So here you are incrementing index with 1 or 2, 2. Then it will generate index as now 0 and 0 plus 2 is what? 2 and 2 plus 2 is a 4 and 4 plus 2 is a 6 and 6 plus 2 is a 8. But 8 plus 2 is a 10, right? But that 10 is included or not included? Not included. So what will happen? Now your Python virtual machine read the value at which one? 0. Then it will read the value at which one? 2. Then it will read the value at which one? 4. Then it will read the value at which one? 6. Then it will read the value at which one? 8. And read how many values total? 5 values. And then store this 5 values into the list. So it will read the value at 0 and 2, 4 and 6 and 8. 2, 4, 6 and 8. Now what is the value at 0 is 10 and 2 is a 30, 2 is a 30 and 4 is a 50. Okay, 4 is a 50 and then 6 is a 70 and 8 is what here? 90. So this slicing internally, the slice operator internally uses range for generating indexes. The slice operator uses range internally for generating indexes, right? So internally it uses range for generating indexes. So you can give the index as a positive, you can give the index as a positive, or you can give the index as what here? Negative. You can give the index as a positive or you can give the index as what here? Negative. You can also give the negative index here. Suppose you want to read, now you want to read the values from right to left. If you want to read the values from right to left, so I'm saying here list 3 equal to list 1 of -1 colon. So what is the starting index here? -1. Then what is the stop index here? -6. And what is the step here? -1. Now this will generate, it will generate indexes from -1, -2, -3, -4 and -5. So what will happen? It will read values from where? Right to left. But how many values will it read? 5 values. So 3 and 4 and 5, right? So it will read the value at -1. But what is the value at -1? 100. Then read the value at -2, which is 90. Read the value at -3, which is 80. And read the value at -4, which is 70. And read the value at -5. And what is the value at -5 here? 60. Now this is reading values from left to right as well as what? Right to left. But what you have to do is you have to give only the starting index and stop index. Suppose I want to read values from -5 to -8. I want to read values from -5 to -8. Then I'll say list 4 equal to list 1 of -5 colon -9 colon -1. Okay, so -5 is a starting index and -9 is a stop index and -1 is a step index. So this will generate indexes like this: -5, -6, -7 and -8. But -9 is included or not included? Not included. So it will read the value at -5 and -6, -7 and -8. But what is the value at -5 here? 60. And what is the value at -6 here? 50. And what is a value at minus 7 here? 40. And what is a value at minus 8 here? 30. Okay, now this is reading in both the directions, that is forward direction as well as what? Backward direction. So this index, now internally slicing. So internally slicing uses range. Internally slicing uses range for generating indexes. So internally, okay, slice operator, internally slicer operator, internally slice operator uses range, okay, for generating sequence of, sequence of which one? Indexes. So for generating sequence of indexes, the Python virtual machine uses which one here? Range. Python virtual machine uses range for generating this. For example, I'm creating a list. Now this is very much useful to read specific. If you want to read the specific values from the list, you can go for this. Now I created list with number of values here. Now I created list with some, how many values here? Some 10 values I created. Now you can say list 2 equal to 0 colon 5 colon 1. Okay, now this will read, sorry. So list 2, so list 2 equal to list 1 of 0 colon 5 colon 1. Now this will read how many values here? 5 values. So this is a list 1 and this is a list 2. I'm saying list 3 equal to list 1 of, okay, 0 colon, okay, 10 colon 2. So this will read how many values? Like alternative values. That is 10, 30, 50, 70 and 80. And list 4 equal to list 1 of minus 1 colon minus 11. See here, minus 1 colon minus 11 colon minus 1. Means you are reading the elements of the list in which order? Reverse order. So this is reading in which order here? Reverse order. Now started minus 1. Now this is nothing but reversing list or not? Yes. Because we are reading the elements in which order here? Reverse order. From starting at minus 1 to minus 11. Minus 11 is included or not included? Not included. Now list 1 of minus 1 colon minus 5. Okay, minus 5 or minus 6 colon minus 1. Now you are reading values from right to left. You are reading values from right to left. That is 100, 90, 80, 70 and 60. If I am writing list 6 equal to list 1 of, okay, minus 1 colon minus 11 colon minus 2. Now you are reading elements from right to left by incrementing the index with what? 1 or minus 2? Minus 2. So that is 100, 80, 60, 40 and 20. This will generate minus 1, minus 3, minus 5, minus 7 and minus 9. So where you are reading values from right to left. Okay, now you should know how to generate the indexes. You have to give the start value, stop value, as well as step value. Start value, stop value, as well as step value, right? But that rule you have to, now when the step is a positive, so the start must be less than which one? Stop. If the step is negative, the start must be greater than stop. Okay, but here writing all these values are not compulsory. And when you see the syntax of this, now here in syntax, there is a starting index is there and stop index is there and step index, step is there, right? But writing all these are optional. Now you can write like this. Now this can be further divided into number of syntaxes. You can write like this. Okay. So there is a list name or sequence name. There is a sequence name and writing start, stop, step is optional. You can simply write colon, colon. So before first colon is called which one? Before first colon is called as which one? Start. And after colon is called stop. And after colon is called step. Now this syntax, in this syntax, okay, default start is 0. Default start is 0 and stop is length of sequence and step is 1. So the syntax read read all the values. So read all the values from list or sequence, all the values from sequence from left to right. So the syntax read all values from sequence left to right because not given the start value, stop value as well as step value. If you don't give the start value, stop value and step value, then what is the default start value? 0. And what is the default stop value? Length of the sequence. What is the default step value? 1. So it will read all the values from left to right. It will read all the values from left to right here, right? Yes. For example, if I'm writing a list, so there is a list contain. I try to create a list by using range here, 100, comma, so 110, comma 1, right? Yes. So this will create a list with some 100 to what here? 109. Okay. Now I want to read all the values from left to right. I can simply write list 2 equal to list 1 of colon colon. Now this will create copy of the list. This will create copy of the list by reading all the values from where left to right. So what is this? Before colon start and after colon is what here? Stop and after colon is what here? Step. But are you given start here? No. Then what is the default start? 0. What is the default step stop? Length of the list. So how many values are there in the list? 9 values. Then what is the length of the list? 9. Then what is the step is given? 1. So where you are reading values from left to right. In which order you are reading? Sequential order, right? Yes. Now this is further you are dividing the syntax. See, further you are dividing the syntax like this. Okay. Yes. But giving all these values within the slice operator is not compulsory. It is optional. Now this is again you can give another syntax. So these are different forms of writing this. Okay, sequence name and colon colon, and there is a step. So here the start is optional and stop is optional, but you are giving which one? Step. Okay. So here in this syntax, now start and stop values are taken based on which value? Step value. In this syntax, the start and stop values are taken based on which one? Step value. If the step is positive, okay, the start is 0, okay, start is 0 and stop is length of which one? Sequence. If the step is negative, then start is 0 and stop is length of what is that again? Sequence. If the step is a positive, then what is the start is 0 and then stop is length of the sequence. If the step is negative, the start is 0 and stop is length of the sequence. Start is -1. Sorry, start is -1 and stop is length of the sequence. Because if the step is negative, it will read from right to left. If the step is positive, it will read from left to right. So if you don't give the start and stop, and if you give only the step value, it will read from left to right. And if you give the start and stop, if you don't give the start and stop, and if you give the step is negative, then it will read from right to left. For example, okay, now there is a sales user. Sales, you want to create a copy of it. For example, courses list is there. What is the name of the list here? Course list. Now you have a list of courses. Now Java, Python, C, okay, and comma C++ like this. You have a list of courses. Now there is a course list is there. Now this you can call it as a course list. This is a course list is there. Okay. I want to read this course list from left to right. I want to create a copy of this list. Now I'm saying course list 1 equal to course list of colon colon which one? 1. So what is the start here? 0. What is the stop length? So is it this is a copy of the list or not? Yes. If I'm writing courses list, now courses list 2 equal to course list of, if I'm writing colon 2, it means is it index is incremented with 1 or 2? 2. So it will read the value at 0. It will read the value at what? 2. Then it will read the value at what? 4. But it will read the value at 0. What is the value at 0? Java. What is the value at 2? C. It will read how many values here? 2 values. Because the index is incremented with what? 2. Now course list 2 having Java and one more is what? C. Right? Now in the same way course list, I'm writing course list. Okay, I'm writing course list 3 equal to course list of, I'm just writing colon minus 1. Means are you reading from left to right or right to left? Right to left, because the step is given what? Minus 1. Then what is the starting index? Minus 1. What is the stop index? Minus length of the. So it will read till the end of the list or not? Yes, but it will read from where? Right to left. Now you can see C++, C, Python, and one more is what? Java, right? Now if I'm writing course list 4 equal to course list of, okay, course list of, I said colon minus 2. Now this is also read from, okay, this is also read from where? Right to left. So how many values it is read? 2 values, C++, and next one is which one? Python, right? So because we try to increment the index with what? 2. But this is from right to left. So if you don't give the start and stop, if you don't give the start and stop, then it takes the start and stop based on which value? Step value. If you don't give the start and stop, it takes the start and stop values based on which value your step value building. Now, this is one more syntax. Now you can give, now writing this start, stop and step is optional. And if you don't give the start and stop, it takes the default start and stop. But you can also give the default, start value and stop values, right? Suppose now you can also write further, see further these are divided. So this is another syntax where you're writing a sequence name and just giving which value, stop value. You're just giving which value your stop value. If you give only a stop value, see before colon is called, which one? Start. And after colon is what? Stop. After this step. But are you giving step? No. Then if you don't give the step, then what is the default step is? +1. What is the default step? +1, right? So the default. So in this syntax, okay, default step value is, or default step value is +1, means it increment the index with the 1 here. It will increment the index with 1 here, right? Increment index with 1. Yes. Now what will happen in this case is, now you have a names list here. Now there is a list of names. So assume that these are some names here. So these are list of names here. So names list. Then here I'm writing names list equal names list 1 equal to names list of, I just given colon 4. So colon 4 means what is the start value? 0. And what is the stop value? 4. So it will read 0, 1, 2, 3. But 4 is included? No. 4 is not included. Then what will happen? Names list 1. So it will read how many values? 0, 1, 2, and 3. Right? If I'm writing names list, if I'm writing names list 2 equal to names list of, okay, now I'm saying colon minus 3. I said colon minus 3. Then after that, I try to print a names list 2. And what is this names list 2 is having narration. One more is what? Suresh. So because I've given the stop as what here? Minus 3. I've given the stop as a minus 3. Okay, when you give the stop as a minus 3, so what will happen in this case is, now if you take this is one list. If you take this is a list, right? Now this is a list. And this list is having how many values here? 5 values. Now this is 0, 1, and this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And this is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and minus 4, and this is minus 5. Okay, this is minus 5. But what I said here, names list of, okay, are you given starting value? No. But you are given only which value? Stop value. What is the stop value I've given? Minus 3. Then when, see, what is the default to start in this syntax? What is the default to start? 0. And 0, and what is the stop is given? Minus 3. What is the minus 3 equivalent of positive value? 2. Getting or not? What is the minus 3 equivalent of value here? 2, right? So 2. Then what is the start value? Stop value is taken 2. Now 0 and what is the start value? 0. What is the start value? Take 0. And what is the stop value? Take here 2. Then it will read how many values from left to right? 2 values. One is narration. One more is what? Suresh. Now this is nothing but headers and these are nothing but footers like that. If you want to read some number of values, then you can give the stop can be either positive or negative. If the stop is positive, okay, if the stop is negative, it will convert that into equivalent which index? Positive index. But what is the equivalent of positive index for minus 3? 2. Then it will read values from 0 and 1. 0 and what is that? 1. Because what is the default step? Plus 1, right? What is the default step here? Plus 1. Now you can also write the syntax like this. So where you can give, yeah, sequence name. You can give the starter. You can give the start, but you are not giving which one? Stop. You are giving the start, but you are not giving the stop. Then if you are not writing the stop, then it will take the stop till the end of the sequence. It will take the stop as till the end of the sequence, because are you given any value called stop here? No. Now this syntax read values till end of the end of the sequence. The syntax read values till end of the sequence. The syntax read values till end of the sequence. For that, you're writing sequence name and then followed by the start. And then are you giving stop and step? No. Then what is the default step? 1 only. In this case, default step is what here? 1 only. Right? Default step is 1 only. Suppose. So I take one list. So I'm creating a list with a 10, 1, 10, 10. And once I see this list and having how many values here? 10 values. Now I want to read. Now I just write here list 2 equal to list 1 of what is the start? Suppose I'm giving start is 0 colon. Means it will read all the values from 0 to till the end of what list. Because are you given any stop value here? No. If you don't give the stop value, then it will read the values till the end. Now, if you see this list 2, how many values are there in this list 2? 10 values. Because you read all the values till end of the list. Now, list 1 of colon, I just write here 5 colon. Means you are reading values from which index? 5 index till the end of the list. Till end of the list. Now, if you see list 3, so it will read all the values from which position? 5. Now, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is read all the values. If I'm writing list 4 equal to list 1 of, list 1 of, I just write here minus 5 colon, minus 5 colon means you are reading values from where? Minus 5, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4 and minus 5. Minus 5 onwards you are reading it. So minus 5 plus 1 is what? Minus 4. Minus 4 plus 1 is what? Minus 3. Minus 3 plus 1 is what? Minus 2. Like this, it will read from this position till the end. Now, if I say print list 4, it read all the values like 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So that is, what is the default? What is the default step? 1. Okay. But stop is taken till the end of the list. Okay. Yes. Now, suppose if you are working with the data science, like if you have a huge amount of data, then you read values or you divide your list into number of sublists. That is called as clustering. You divide the list into a number of sublists. But how you are dividing the list into a number of sublists? And you are dividing or you are slicing with the help of which operator? Slice operator. But see, this syntax, I try to divide it in this particular syntax, I try to divide into different syntaxes. Okay, this particular syntax, I try to divide into different syntaxes here like this, different forms of the same syntax, different forms of the same syntax. Now there is a sequence name. There is a sequence name is given and you are trying to give the start value and then stop value, but not given which value? Step value. So one is on, the other one you can off it. Okay. So start value and stop value, but not given which value? Step value. So if you don't give the step value, what is the default step value? 1, right? So I create again one list, now list of range of, so 10 comma 1, 10 comma 10. Now if you see this list 1 having 10 values, if I'm writing list 2 equal to list 1 of, I just give the start value. Now start value is 3, then stop value is which one? 8. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but 8 is read or not read? Not read, because stop index is not included. Now 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is the value at 3, 4, 40, 50, 60 and 70 and 80? If I'm writing list 2 or list 3 equal to list 1 of, I just write here 3 colon minus 3. If I'm writing 3 colon minus 3, now 3 is which value? Start value, and then minus 3 is which value? Stop value. Means I want to read all the values except the first 3 values and last 3 values. So this is minus 1, minus 2, and this is what here? Minus 3. Means you are reading from 3 to minus 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. From 3 onwards, you are reading up to what? Minus 3. Minus 3 means this is minus 1, minus 2, and minus 3. So is it minus 3 is included? No. So it will read how many values? 40, 50, 60, and 70. Now this is start value, and this is what here? Stop value. So it will read 40, 50, 60, 70. If I print list 3, now it will read all the values except the first 3 values as well as last 3 values. Is it read 40, 50, 60, 70 or not? Yes. Now that is done with the help of which one? Slicing. Now slicing, now this is further, I divided one syntax into number of syntaxes. Further, I divided one syntax into number of syntaxes. Okay. Yes. You can read from left to right. You can read from right to left. If you want to reverse the list, how can you reverse the list? You can simply write list 4 equal to list 1 of colon minus 1. So will it print? I mean, it will create a list by reversing all the elements or not? Yes, because this is called as which value? Step value. If the step is negative, then what is the start? Minus 1. What is the stop? End of the list. Means it will read all the values from where? Right to left. It will read all the values from right to left. So using index, you can able to read one value, but using slicing, you can able to read more than one value. Using index, you can able to read one value, but using slicing, you can able to read more than one value, right? Yes. Now next one is using for loop. Now you can also read the content of the list. You can also read the content of the list using what here? For loop. How many ways can you read the content of the sequence? How many ways can you read the content of the sequence? Yesterday, I said like you can read the content of the sequence in different ways here. Now, first one is using index, and second one is using slicing, and third one is using for loop. Fourth one is using iterator. Fifth one is using enumerate. So third one is using what? For loop. So using for loop. So the main purpose of for loop in Python is iterating values from collection. Okay. Now for loop. So for loop,